Hello, and welcome to Internal Energies presents Conversation on Consciousness with me, Minette, the Internal Energist. This show is dedicated to playing with different people and different energy and different frequencies that are contributing to raising the planet's vibration, just for us to discover a new level of contribution, communion, and consciousness here on this planet. And today, my special guest is Anika Ray. She's a conscious channeler, spiritual psychic, intuitive coach, and her specialty is the Akashic Records and divine communication. So I want to thank Anika Ray so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Minette.
Tell them a little bit about what, because I know for me when I first heard the word Akashic Records, to a lot of people, you either know or you have no clue.
Absolutely, yes. That's one of those things that's also very etheric to people, or mystical, if you will. But Akashic Record itself is a cosmic book of light. It is a energetic bridge of energy to a soul level dimension of consciousness. So that is very metaphysical, but to bring it to be more practical, Akashic Record is an infinite spiritual realm of infinite knowledge, and it is a resource for also healing, transformation, inspiration, and really the use is infinite, if you think about it. So that's really how I would define it. I mean, it's very metaphysical, but at the same time practical.
I like the infinite possibilities with that, because it seems like when you have something like that, you're only limited by your imagination of what kind of information or what a contribution it could be to your life or your spiritual development.
Absolutely, and we're all on this path of awakening, if you will. So raising the vibration and tapping into your own divine being, if you will, we find different paths, different ways, and Akashic Record is one of those doorways, if you will, to raising your vibration, awakening to who you are, awakening to your path, your purpose. And then, of course, once when you are in that state of awakening and higher vibration, other things become sort of relevant, like spiritual healing, and it just comes naturally in the records, the spiritual healing, the transformation that comes through with that, and then of course, infinite knowledge, wisdom that is also present in the records that permeates through that atmosphere.
Oh, I love that so much. And it's neat too, because I've noticed you were talking about divine being and awakening, and it seems like the planet is going through a huge shift of awakening. There's just so many more people that are just stopping and are either not happy or stuck or just wondering what else is possible in this life, in this world. And the consciousness just seems to be just spreading to this place where, I feel like it's opening hearts and minds across the globe.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. This is the path that we have chosen as an enlightened beings. We have incarnated before into this existence, onto this planet, and have done this before, but this time it's more individualized. Before it was more collective. So there was a collective awakening, and we have chosen a leader, and throughout the history you can see that, and it's actually recorded in the records because of the purpose of remembering, reigniting all that memory. So we coming into this existence, and at this particular time is perfect time for us to go through this, but this time, as I said, individualized, and that's why people are feeling this in different ways. Perhaps for some of them it's purpose, for some it's healing, it's just different ways of awakening to who you truly are. You are the divine being, the divine creator.
I love that too, awakening. And I know some people out there don't quite know what that means. I awake every morning.
Yes.
What is this spiritual awakening or this consciousness shift that's going on? Most people I know, even of the ones that have never heard of it, have heard of it, or know people that are experiencing these things. And, and not everybody awakens in the same way. It's completely different. And I've found through my experience, a lot of people that I know in my circle have had some type of experience that has allowed them to awaken. For me, it was my accident when I broke my neck. So I was sorry, but I chose the energetic 2x4 method of awakening.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about what your awakening was like, what led you to find your path.
Yes, for me there were different instances throughout my life, but the most pertinent one was my father's passing. In 2010, my father passed suddenly from leukemia. And really that devastated me because we never had a chance to say goodbye. So I was seeking for sort of like an advice or healing, if you will. And I turned to my friends in the mystical community, and I turned to mediums. And one of the mediums mentioned to me that my father wanted to meet me in the Akashic Records. So my path to awakening was actually through that devastating event and then leading into the Akashic Records, where I found this incredible sense of infinite love, in infinite knowledge and wisdom to get over not only my devastation, but to also awaken to who I truly am, to my divine truth, and to my path and to my purpose.
Oh, that's really, I mean, I feel for your loss, but it's also such a beautiful story to have someone, a loved one guide you
Yes.
to your divine path. So I see the beauty in it also.
Yes, absolutely. And what is interesting in the records, people feel like, there's nobody in the records really, why would we go there? But that is a resource of source energy, infinite love, infinite wisdom, as I said, and we are supported there. We have not only the light beings, but we do have the loved ones. Now the difference is that the loved ones are actually related to us in consciousness. So in a sense, my father was not only my father like figure in this incarnation, he was related to me in consciousness in a sense that he really cared about my spiritual growth. So the loved ones that come through related in consciousness and care about our spiritual growth, our spiritual evolution, I would say. So that was a fantastic way of me to be kind of introduced to this realm and to go in without actually thinking about it, just kind of leading through with my heart.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I
Yes.
love that. And I feel that is key to so much of this is coming from your heart.
Yes.
And I feel like so much of life, we have to figure everything out. We have to analyze everything. We have
Yes.
to, I can't let this go until I properly analyze it,
Yes.
And that really gets us stuck. I tell a lot of my clients, if you're thinking, you're stinking. Where's that energy coming from, when they want to make these big life decisions? But if it's coming from here, a lot of times it's work and we have to analyze it and it's heavy. But when it's here, it's such an energy of purity and that divine energy that
Yes.
where you just know that's your path.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because this heart-centeredness, it is a state through which we will continue to live. And part of it, this heart-centeredness, is to tap into the Akashic energy. You actually go through your heart center. And that's how I've learned it. Through your heart center, and it really is tapping into that because the soul brain is in your heart.
Yes.
And we have learned to kind of go into our brain first rather than into our soul brain second, but we are kind of unlearning that and going back to the ancient way of living, which was consciousness and awakened state.
I can hear people thinking too, soul brain, what is that? What does that mean? For me, I'm going to give my definition and maybe you
Yes,
can elaborate
yes.
if there's any inconsistencies or anything. For me, I feel the soul brain means, when we're up here, we're thinking and we're analyzing. When we're up here, it's like this sense of knowing because it comes from love and it's so pure, but it's a way of guidance as opposed to this guidance where we think, this might be right. But this is for me, such a pure, strong sense of guidance.
Yes.
That's what I do in all my healings too with my clients or in my coaching. It's that heart-centered. What do you feel like?
Yes,
the soul brain?
that is true. And also they say there within the heart there is this cave of creation. There's this little chamber where actually source energy is, where your soul energy is, your soul signature. So that soul brain is the direct access to consciousness, to unity consciousness, to source energy, to the Akasha, which basically means primary substance, something that's never been affected by thoughts or emotions. So that purity, that integrity of who we truly are, our divinity, our consciousness, our connection to source is all in this, they call it a small chamber of heart, but it's truly in the heart and in that space that's why we feel like it's that knowing, it's just that feeling, that connectedness to
Yes.
source, connectedness to who we are. So yeah, that is all true.
And it's so funny because you're talking about this small little space, but I can actually sense the energy of it's, immeasurable.
Absolutely.
Immeasurable.
Well, and it really
Yeah.
is for us. It would look really small, but the energy is so potent. You're right.
It is, and I read there's even research going in physics now and things and so many other places of the heart coherence and how strong that is, and they're actually being able to measure people's heart fields, and they're so much farther out there than they thought they were.
Yes, because that is the way of awakened state of being. And when you say, how do people know I'm really awakened, is that expanded awareness of who you truly are and living through your heart. And it doesn't just mean feeling, it's a state of being. So once when you're in that energy of the heart, once when you are thinking through the heart, that doesn't mean the heart and brain are not connected, they're not communicating. It means that it starts from here and it goes up to our logical, to the brain. And that connectedness is what makes us awakened and having that heightened awareness of who we are at all times and going through life aware of our path, aware of our purpose, but still enjoying this experience on the planet, because that's what's really it is about. It's about joy.
It is, and I feel like this awakening that's happening is people are finding so much more joy in their life, so much more ease in their life.
Yes.
It seems like before a lot of people function from the finite reality, of thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and everything's very reactionary. People react a lot, or they resist a lot, and there's a lot of resistance in that place. But when it comes from the heart, it's just this beautiful space of allowance.
Yes.
That you just allow everyone around you to be what their choices are in their path.
Yeah.
But you're very clear and centered and know what your path is, regardless of what anyone else says.
And that's why that is, in a metaphysical world, is called a unity, unified with Source, one with Source. That oneness, that wholeness is present once when you live through your heart. And part of this reaction is because we have been in the separation consciousness for so long.
Yeah.
And now we are sort of awakening to that unity, to the heart, to who we truly are. And all of this combined together is what brings joy to our life and what naturally brings that balance, because we have now the awareness we're walking the planet as conscious beings. And that's what's so beautiful about that. And that can look differently for every person.
Every person.
Yes.
You're very unique.
Yes. That is what I mean by individualized experience opposed to collective, where we would all move in tribes and kind of check with each other and pick a leader. We're all leaders. We're all pioneers. We're all divine beings. Each of us has its own mastery, and that's what's so beautiful about it. And that's one thing that Akasha embodies. It embodies all of that unity, the source energy. And then once when you tap into it, you become bathed in that light, in that love, in the unity, and your process of awakening actually amplifies. So that's why that is so beautiful. That's why I've personally chosen that path for myself. At first I wasn't aware why, but then it became really I became really aware why it was.
And then you don't question, you just know.
Yes.
And in the beginning, did you go through a period of where you were kind of questioning? Because it is such a different paradigm. It's such a different shift of probably what you were doing before. What were you doing? Was it a big shift from what you were doing before?
It was. I was kind of on a path since I was a child. I had this question of, my path, my purpose, my mission. What is my mission? I had that awareness. I just really took it more into this practical realm, where's my career, but underlays where's my mission. So I was on a path of international relations, studying languages, cultures. That was really my life. I was devoted to it since I was 8 years old. But then it came to a point where that just no longer was serving me. Like I felt like I couldn't make a difference there. So that was kind of a first piece for me. And then through that, it came the point of just having more freedom to explore different things. So I wouldn't say it was a big shift like immediately, but it was like little shifts over time, and then some dramatic events. So, that brought me to the Akashic Records.
Oh, I love that. Because I feel when they awaken, some people, like if you haven't awakened and you don't even know what that is, it can be uncomfortable in the beginning because you are doing something different, but it doesn't matter how uncomfortable it is because you have I had such a sense of knowing that it didn't stop me.
Yes.
Like even when the judgment came,
yes.
You're like, what are you doing? This is not at all what you were doing before. You're so weird. And I remember there was some resistance in the beginning, because even there were parts of me that were like, this is weird. This is something completely different that I was not doing before. But I remember working through that because none of that stopped me. because it kept me going forward towards the path. And it was so beautiful because I got to the point where even when someone says you're weird, I was like, I am. How does it get better than that? It's so weirdly wonderful. But I find it's this magical place of knowing and being that is beyond words. It's that you don't, like you were talking about, not the teacher, not the collective before. I think before in the path, we did look to gurus or masters
Yes,
or sages
yes.
and things like that. And now it's to the point of the consciousness where we're all supposed to be our own master. We're all supposed to be our own guru. No one knows what you require more than you. And we can come to these tools, the Akashic records, and have these readings or healings. But it's like they're tools for you to utilize to unlock what you know, because only you know it.
Because that's how I see my work. I am just, it's a collaboration, and I am just retrieving or giving the guidance or the knowledge or the elements that that particular person asked me to retrieve. But it's really a collaboration. They already know what they're there to get. It's that sense of knowing and being there, being in that energy. And just because it comes through me, it really doesn't make a difference, because again, it's a collaboration. It's that collaborative energy. But for them, it's going to come through the way that they planned it.
I love that. And huge shifts can happen because it's almost like a confirmation. So it's like you awaken.
Yes.
You're in a little bit of, okay, this is different. There's just, you go through this I'm going to say uncomfortable period, but which is beautiful, because if things were that great in your comfort zone, would you really be looking for change? I mean, for true change to happen, you're going to get out of your comfort zone. And you're going to change things. And you're going to realize, hey, wherever I'm at right now, I'm not happy. I feel stuck. I'm ready for something different. So when that change comes about, it really starts open you up. But it can be this little uncomfortable period.
Yes.
But then, as long as you keep knowing what you know and don't make other people's judgment more significant than your knowing, even your own, you can start to, go down that path with greater ease and just receive more of who you are.
Yes, that's true. And that part of resistance and judgment, that's very hard, because in previous incarnations, whether you believe it or not, there's a sense of knowing that perhaps you have gone through that already.
You know what it's,
Yes,
what is down that
there.
road.
Yes, you know what is down that road. So that fear of judgment or persecution, it karmically is there. It can get very uncomfortable, but allowing yourself to even embrace to embrace the uncomfortability and choose yourself. This is about choosing yourself. It's not about, even when we talk about purpose and path, this is about choosing yourself, choosing to be truly who you are full out.
Yes.
And being authentically you, however that may look like. And that is the awakened state, being full on out you, with everything that you are, with all the gifts, talents, abilities, with the personality, with everything. Because only that you are contributing, either way you are contributing, but being aware of who you are and being full on out you is where really becomes that awakened state.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I know one thing that, because a modality that I really have learned a lot of these tools and that really resonates with me is Access Consciousness. I've done a lot of other modalities too. I'm certified in 14 different modalities, but there's something in there that they say, what if all that's required for the world to shift is for you to be the magic that you be? What if we just start to step into exactly that unique blend of magic that only you are, and then knowing and the gifts that only you have for the the earth to shift and for the planet to shift. But it is that that time of self-mastery.
Yes, absolutely, I agree. And that's wonderful. The Access Consciousness, I've heard of it, and definitely a wonderful tools. And Akashic Record is the same way. It's a pathway, a doorway to that awakening of who you truly are. And what happens in the record is very interesting, because when you start accessing, your consciousness merges with source consciousness, and so you're able to see beyond what you would see as a human, and that perspective is what shifts it for you. Like, for example, I've gone through life and I've gone through some challenges, and I would think, oh, it's really totally different what I'm thinking with my brain, obviously, and I'm like, this is how I'm analyzing what I'm going through and this hardship and whatnot. And then I would tap into that Akashic field, and to be able to see that perspective and see through source energy and see through that perspective, it really shifted my life. And then it brought me back to, being that awakened and it brought me back to my mastery of who I am.
I
So-
love that. It's like you go from being stuck to
Yes.
being expanded.
Yes, correct.
So we're going to talk about more than this when we get back. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to be talking about channeled messages.